On a Saturday morning, we sent her through A&E to a scan. And you know what? We were actually standing in the Royal with this young doctor who actually told us there's nothing wrong with you. The scan's showing up, nothing at all. Don't worry, there's nothing sinister there. It's just a UTI. And we were standing looking at him and thinking, I'm not sure about this. So anyway, it's been going on for a while,
Yeah,
but it wasn't picked up.
okay. So welcome, everyone. Everyone's here. It's great. We're just missing Catherine, but she said she would be away today. So how are you getting on with your practice? Okay, so we spoke about practice of connecting with nature, using your senses to connect to nature. Did you make a specific intention around it?
I needed to get like bedding plants and things like that. And I ended up going to the range because home base is now in the range. And I had a row with the manager of the shop because of the state the plants were in. I just got so passionate about it. And I said, you know, we're trying to conserve everything on this earth and all those plants out there are dying. She said, oh, they're watered every day. They are absolutely not watered every day. And I got myself into a real tizzy over it.
Okay.
But I said, look, I hope you don't think I'm being rude, but you know, our world is dying and all those plants out there are dying.
Yeah.
And I said, the reason we plant plants is to conserve our world.
Yeah.
But I was going in one ear and out the other. She didn't give a shit.
Okay. So that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because, you know, you're talking about connecting with nature, and then what do we see in nature? What did she see in nature?
I saw Dukkha.
Dukkha. Yeah. She encountered dukkha.
I had to come out and sit in the car and calm myself down.
Okay. So yeah. So this is, she could, can you hold it up?
Mhm.
She just said she had to go out into the car to calm down.
I'm
So,
going to write a letter.
yeah. So that's a good way when you get in touch with dukkha.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you see it clearly, then it inspired you to be creative. Okay. So let's come back to Anne Henderson, by the way, said she can't come this week, didn't she?
Yes, she
Yeah.
did.
We come back to this word. I'm trying to see everybody, but it's we are, you know, doing our practice and then we go off. Yeah.
Oh,
And
my
this
chitter
is
was going mental.
your chitivity was going
Was good. My
Was going
chitty
what?
Ritty was going mental.
mental. Yeah. Okay. So remember that creates what?
Samskara.
Samskara. Okay. Yeah. So being conscious then in the moment when you're losing it, right? So something you saw dukkha very clearly and it had a reaction in you. Yeah. And but the reaction, you know, you needed to express yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was the feeling in the body?
I just felt angry.
You
I
felt
really
angry.
felt
Yeah.
angry and disappointed in people.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, we talked about before, if we come back a good bit, you've all heard this a lot, you know, so we have a feeling, a sensation, yeah, of anger. Let's just name it. It's anger. You were pretty clear. Yeah. You know it's anger. And remember that feeling's within you. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you decided to say something about it. Okay. Yeah. And this is an interesting place now for you to work, right? Because now you have this practice and all this information behind you because you know the way we've talked about several times how when we have a sensation it goes to I like and I don't like. Yeah.
So device it,
Yeah.
device it.
Motivation. Right. So let's say in this case you went, I don't like this situation. I'm not happy about it. Yeah. So your practice is here, it's stuck here, right? So you really have to watch now with what happens next. Yeah. Because can you hold your anger and watch it arise in you and choose how you're going to react? Yeah. So be conscious of it within you
Mhm.
as you're
So I
speaking.
shouldn't have reacted the way I
No,
did.
no, absolutely. No, there's no should about it. There's no, oh, I should have done this or should have done that. But just be very conscious of how you react in that moment. Yeah. Because I've been in that situation before because you were conscious,
Yeah,
weren't you?
yeah, totally.
And sometimes I have shouted at somebody, a dog owner. I think I told you the story about shouting at a dog owner when my friend's kid ran into a big steaming pile of poop and in the park. And it was a choice. Yeah. It was a choice. And I was clearly judging. You see, this is also right. You're discerning. You're judging. Yeah. So here you were judging out, right? Sometimes we can judge ourselves internally, and sometimes we can judge out or blame. Yeah. But be careful when you get into blame territory, right? Because the thing is, you can get really fixated
Mhm.
on one person. And remember what devasha leads to. Extreme aversion. What is that? Hate. Yeah. Can lead to hate. So you got to watch this feeling within yourself when you're taking action, because anger is an emotion that helps us take action, and and it can be very protective. You're very protecting the and caring about, the plants. It's coming from a place of love, but you just have to watch
Mhm.
it, because sometimes when it comes to when we start taking action, remember that these are two sides of the same coin that we can clamp down and get sort of, when we go really far down this road, it's kind of like it's a parigraha, it's obsession. Yeah. So we have to just be careful to stay here in the middle and see, okay, because I quite often go into Tesco and they have Israeli produce, and I will go every time to the manager and I'll say, look, I see you have Israeli produce here. I want to make a complaint about that. No, it's not your fault. And I will complain every single time I come in here and I see that. Okay. So, and most of the time the staff agree with me, but it's
I
doing,
did, yeah.
that's a great place to practice.
I did say to the two girls, it was a lady that came over and she called the manager and she came back and she said, the manager's not available. And I said, is the manager in store?
Yeah.
And she said, yes. And I says, well,
Oh my
as a
gosh, that's not good.
customer,
Yeah.
I would like to talk to the manager of this store, please. And then she came out and I said, look, I'm not blaming you or the other lady here. I says, it's the company. I says, maybe you're short-staffed. Because there was only 2 people. She says, oh, the manager of the garden centre is out in the garden centre.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, I said, have you been out in the garden centre?
Mhm.
No, I haven't. And I says, well, I suggest you go out and look at the state of it.
Mhm.
And I says, you're losing so much money here by
Mhm.
not looking after your plants as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I says, I would like to write to the company. And she says, would you like a phone number or an email address? And I says, could I have both, please?
Yeah.
My mum was with me and my mum just stood there. And I got into the car and I just said to mum, I says, you know what? Not everybody is like me. I at least I'm trying to look after the planet in my way of doing that.
Mm.
But it's just unfortunate that other people are disappointing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will encounter that, Mary.
Mhm.
So I think you handle that situation really well,
And there was a queue. There was about 20 people in the queue.
But it's
And I suffer from anxiety, and I suffer a lot from anxiety at cash registers.
yeah.
And that stems from when Harry was a baby and he used to play up
Uh-huh.
and the trolley and cash registers. And then I always thought, people are looking at me, people are looking at me. And you know what? I just stood my ground and I thought, I don't give one flam shit about all these people waiting.
Yeah.
I says, I've got a point.
Yeah. So that's great. I think you did a good job of in that moment, um, you know, dealing with what was arising with you. The thing is to hold it lightly, you know?
But
So to take action in a way where you're not getting obsessed. Do you know what I mean? Not heading down the road into, because sometimes you can just, I've noticed it in myself that sometimes you're like, I'm not going to let this go. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I'm going to do my bit and then I'm going to drop it.
I used to be like that.
Okay. Hold that up.
I used to be like that and I wouldn't let it go and I get obsessed about it. But
Yeah.
this class has helped me not to do that.
Yeah.
And then I would get more anxious because I was getting so obsessed with it.
Yeah. It's a really important, it's a really interesting place to work with, it's a really interesting place. And to be, Thich Nhat Hanh in this book talks about, in order to save the planet, he talks about we must have the inner artist. And in a way, when we're talking about samskara is action as well. Yeah. Because from samskara, we take action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. We take action from samskara. A thought, a feeling, okay. And then, from that thought, you create. Yeah. And the creativity inspires more samskara. Yeah. Does that make sense? Not really.
So
Okay.
that was my connection. Was my connection with nature.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Mary. Where's my... Oh, I don't have a cloth, actually. I didn't bring one out. So anybody else? Anything else that you were working with this week? Did you practice? Hold this.
Was trying to notice everything around me, and so looking at any birds there, looking at the sheep, looking at the, so this was up in Donegal,
Yeah.
looking at the sheep, looking at the colours of the sheep, looking at their faces and looking at the different, so some of them had like white bodies and black legs and black faces,
Mm.
and other ones had black but a bit of like white in their faces. So I started looking at all that, and then I was looking at a butterfly, and it was hopping from one flower, wild flower, to the other. So I followed it
Mhm.
down the road a wee bit as it hopped from one flower to the other.
Mhm.
And I thought it was just a really lovely experience to see it and to stop and take notice of it.
Yeah. It sounds very playful, very childlike. Yeah. So you know the way children do that, they become fascinated and curious. So this is the curiosity helps our practice as well. Yeah, to return to that. Remember when you're engaging with nature to come back to feel your body. Yeah. So you're looking at something, you're taking it in through your senses, and then, you know, something like a butterfly, I'm sure it brought you joy, but it's a practice for us to really come back to the physical body and feel, okay, what are the sensations of joy? How do they manifest themselves in the physical sensations in my body? Yeah. Keep coming back to that because that's going to create samskara. Yeah. Joy samskaras. And what we want to do is have more of them and more of them so that we begin to live more from this place. Really begin to fill ourselves with joy. Okay. Anybody else?
I've got two new hobbies now, and I can't fit the ones I have already into my day. But the bird song,
Yeah.
I walked along the Lagan the other day from Shaw's Bridge to New Forge,
Mm-hmm.
and I could hear so many birds, so I turned my little app on, which is a free app that you just turn on, keep your phone in your hand.
Keep it right up.
And
Sorry.
there were 30, I didn't look at it till I just appreciated what I think I remember the dawn chorus being like. I mean, it was amazing. And of course, you can't see the birds. I'm standing gazing up at the trees. I'm sure there's people going past think she's ready for the big black van. But 13 different birds
Oh, you noticed. Okay.
were recorded.
Okay.
I mean, just in that relatively
Mm.
short distance. And
Mm.
that was why. Yes, 13 different. It did, and showed you a wee picture of them. And if you actually choose to look at the app, the loudest one you're hearing
Mm.
will come up at the top of the picture, the wee picture and the name of it. And then last night I was on my way to bed and can't remember if it was BBC 1 or 2 that was on. And here what happens at 11 o'clock, this guy from the south of Ireland, I've it all written down, had a bird programme on. And did you know there are 200 different species of birds on the island of Ireland?
Mm.
And this morning, the reason I'm late is I was staring out the kitchen window, washing the dishes, looking at the clouds, and I hadn't had time to look them up and see. The clouds are like wee balls of cotton wool this morning. So that's my, and they keep me away from washing dishes. But you're right, the positive samskaras that are coming are enlightening my day and keeping me away from the horrible stuff that
Yeah.
you have to deal with. So
Yeah.
I don't want any more. I've enough.
Thank you. So anything else? Anything else?
Exciting, but I just made an intention that I would sit outside every morning with a cup of tea and take in the smells, the sounds of the birds, and
Mhm.
just enjoy nature for 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And if as an extra, to spend a bit of time in the garden, even half an hour on a good
Mhm.
day, if I had time,
Mm-hmm.
weeding or whatever, just to spend more time in the garden, really.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It does give you great peace.
Yeah.
And I was thinking of you and about the sheep the last time I was in Donegal, the curiosity you get from what we're doing here. You know, I would stop and look at the lambs and think, God, how come that's a black sheep? I didn't know black sheep really existed. I thought it was a, you know, and the mother seems to be white. And, you know, it does arouse your curiosity when you look at a field
Mhm.
of sheep. That, yeah, this all arouses your curiosity, doesn't it?
Mm.
Looking at all the different shades of blue
Mm-hmm.
and really spent quite a while examining it
Mm-hmm.
and thought to myself, it is all coming from here. You know, previously I would have said, that's beautiful, that's really lovely, and then I would have moved on. And now I'm spending longer just looking more deeply at the things, and
Yeah.
but I haven't got as far as examining what's going on within myself. So that's the next task.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And I love the way you say looking more deeply. Yeah, because that is really what the practice is. Yeah. But what I would like for each one of you to do is to make let's say if you go out, because you all make contact with nature once a day, right? So if you can take a specific period of time, like maybe 20 minutes. And 20 minutes is kind of really good for helping to for nature to take its effect on the nervous system. Yeah. And use that time to specifically be in nature and use your senses once a day. It's a big ask, but right, I'm going to ask you to do that. Okay. And let's have a look, because we were talking about samskara. We'll come back to that again, okay? We've spoken many times about consciousness and how we take consciousness in through the senses. Yeah. So the sense organs. So we started off, Anne was talking about the eye, right? And looking more deeply. Yeah. So looking at how color changes. Yeah. We're all blessed here that we have the organ of sight, you know, to feel grateful for that as well. So how can you look more deeply, right? When you sit down, when you take this 20 minutes, how can you use your eyes more deeply? And I thought it was interesting the way you said that, you know, before you would have looked and then moved on, right? And you can see this even with our travel culture, right? Oh, I'm going to go and see the Taj Mahal. I was like, okay, there it is. I take my picture in front of it and then I'll move on. Right? Myself and my friend were in I don't know if you know it, the Gortin Glen in Tyrone. Have you ever been there? No? It's a beautiful waterfall, and you know, there's lots of ferns, and it's a really beautiful place. Not a place that a lot of people go to because it's right in the Midlands, you know. Do you know it, Mary? Yeah. So, there, can you walk to it? There's kind of like a car park. Oh no, it's not the Gortin Glens. I'm thinking of a different place. Yeah, Gortin Glens have the lakes. Yeah, which is a lovely place as well. But I'm thinking of the waterfall around that area. County Tyrone, yeah. You're from County Tyrone, Rita, aren't you? No? Carmel is. The Sluggan Glen. Do you know that? No? Sluggan Glen. In Tyrone, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lovely place. It's a bit like the Craigie Glen, only it's, you know, there's nobody goes there. No, very few people know about it, you know. It kind of locals would go. But myself and my friend went one day, and we just decided to, you know, stop talking and be in silence together and just listen, you know, take in through the senses, the sounds of the water, the colors. And we were doing this for several minutes, and then somebody came up, jumped over the fence, took a picture, took a selfie, and then legged it. Yeah. Right. So, and we can all do this to some degree with our lives, right? You know, we can eat like that sometimes. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're like, oh, I have to go. Yeah. So you're not involved in your senses. You're not really experiencing your dinner, you know? You're shoveling it down. Okay. And we can do this with all sorts of things. And actually we can condition ourselves, you know, when we talk about pleasure, you know, usually with raga. Do you remember that word? We're talking about raga and devesha. Do you remember that, Anne? You mightn't have heard it as much as everyone else, but so raga means what you like, yeah. So, and that leads to attachment. Yeah, attachment. Remember when we were saying devesha is aversion. So you see the way they're the two sides of the same coin. Yeah. So when we're, you know, coming from, let's say, you know, we were talking about anger earlier, but let's say it's something that's really pleasurable, like your dessert, like the beautiful chocolate cake that Rita made last week. You know, we can really have this craving, this desire for the cake or the sweet thing, you know, the sweet treats at the end of your dinner or whatever. And we have a strong samskara about that. But then when it comes to it, you might say to yourself, well, I'm only going to eat one of these biscuits. Right? I do this myself. Okay. I'm giving my own experience example. You know, I'm just going to eat one of these biscuits. And then because I have a samskara around it, especially I can be an anxious eater. You know what I mean? It's like I soothe myself with food. But I can just tear into the biscuit and it's gone in half a second and I haven't experienced it. But yet it's given me a little dopamine hit, right? It's given me a little dopamine hit. So I want another one. Yeah. I want to do it again. Raga. Yeah. And so this is really what's happening is that I haven't experienced the biscuit fully. I'm more attached to the concept of the biscuit. Does that make sense? I have objectified the biscuit. I have this concept that I will eat this and I will really enjoy it, but because the minute I start eating one of them, I'm like, okay, I need the next one, right? So I've objectified it. I've made it a concept of happiness, but I'm not experiencing the happiness. And this is really important in our society. This is a really important part of if we want to create change, because we are conditioned through advertising and so on in our society to be consumers. Yeah. So if we can really work with this, with, in this case, pleasure, right? We were talking about anger earlier, but in this case, pleasure. If I can learn to train my body to receive more pleasure from this one biscuit, then I won't objectify it. Yeah. If I learn to really, through the senses, create more samskaras of pleasure to override maybe my samskaras around soothing and anxiety. Yeah. Then I can, you know, develop a healthier relationship with pleasure. Yeah. So that is a massive part of our practice, especially when we're talking about nature and going out into nature and seeing. You know, we have to feed ourselves through the eyes. Yeah. And we've practiced that many times. You know, you can all do it with our hand. In fact, if you take your hand, and you may have some concepts about the hand, you know, how often do you catch yourself in the mirror and you go, oh dear, getting old, right? Yeah. And that is dukkha. So now when you look at yourself in the mirror and you hear yourself saying that, can you train yourself to see something positive? Yeah. I can see Anne taking a big gulp there. You can see the resistance, right? Because we're like, we're not supposed to do that. We're not told to do that, right? But like you would to a friend or a child, right? Can you train yourself to see 5 positive things and even say them to yourself? You know, you might be in a bathroom, toilet or something, public toilet, you mightn't be able to say it out loud. But if you say it out loud in your own home, you know, if the door is closed and, you know, think of 5 positive things, because that is going to create a samskara of, oh, no, I'm okay. Okay, right? Yeah. You'll be a lot. Yeah, but you know, people, you know, we probably, you know, these samskaras didn't start when you were, you know, 5 minutes ago, did they? They started in maybe our teenage years, or maybe they started in, you know, in our early 20s, you know? So if we're constantly thinking these things, it's really ripping the ass out of our life, you know? Like, who cares? You know, life is, there's so much more to be experienced in life than, and I really think it's also a radical act, you know, especially as women, when we're told, oh, you're not good enough, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this enough, you're not, to stand in front of the mirror and go, okay, you've had a, you know, said something not nice about yourself there in your own brain. Okay, let's let's say 5 positive things.
That's five's an awful lot.
5's an awful lot, Anne says.
It's quite nice coloured and it's nice and shiny, but I
Good,
didn't go
good.
any further.
That's good. Yeah.
The five's an awful lot. I think one
Yeah.
or two would be plenty.
Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't have to be, yeah.
So it could be related to nature. Well, I was really positive. I went out for a walk and listened to the bird song.
Mhm.
So that's something good that you've done.
But even about your,
Yeah.
but also about your
Yeah.
appearance, because if we are, samskaras can come from our culture as well, right? So if you're receiving samskaras that make you think, well, I'm getting old or whatever, however it comes into your mind, then you need to challenge that. And that's radical action, right? That's actually radical action against misogyny, for example. Yeah.
I think that is possible. It doesn't matter what we do. I look at my mother,
Uh-huh.
who's 88, and she came to Australia with me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? She was having a harm about it, and I says, just be positive about it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like a child when she was on the plane. Like I filmed her on the plane, business class.
Yeah.
There were wee glass of champagne and everything, and she was
Uh-huh.
just like a wee 10-year-old
Yeah.
sitting there, just loving every minute of it. And
Brilliant, isn't
I
it?
said, look at what you're doing, look at where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. A fair play to her. It's really inspiring, to see people just continuing to live their lives. Yeah. To continue. Yeah. And we will all hold, Mary's just saying she can be negative sometimes as well. Negativity and criticism, your mind is trained to see what's wrong. Yeah. But if we don't counter that, we will continually fall victim to the negative voices. Yeah. Does that make sense? So we have to train ourselves in the opposite direction, I always think of my teacher, Angela Farmer. Like when people meet her, she's 86. When people meet her, they're really like shocked because they've never met a woman who's 86, who is full of life, and you can just tell it from her. And she's a joy to be around. It's really inspiring. She's not afraid to take up space. Because that's the other thing, is that we're kind of trained to, I shouldn't, I should just hide in the background now, now that I'm 86, I should just hide in the background. It's like, no, we need to hear, the voices of people who have wisdom and life experience, That doesn't mean she goes around preaching or whatever, but physically you can see she's not afraid to stand up and take space. She's English. Yeah, she's English, but her mum was American. And actually she's got every time I'm over there, she talks about Ireland because her grandmother was from Cork, and I know the whole history, but on her dad's side, there's a great grandfather as well who was from here, from the north of Ireland. So McBurney's. So yeah, but she's also got a bit of Native American in her, because that grandfather who was from Northern Ireland married a Native American woman. Yeah, yeah. God, I'll have to ask her, I'd have to ask her. But it's her practice.
Yeah.
It's her practice. But it's not that, you know, she yeah, she's something inside her that shines. You know, if you look at her skin, that means she lives in Greece and that her skin is like the bark of a tree, you know? It's her skin's really wrinkled and she's got white hair, you know? So she is an old woman, you know, and she's hard of hearing as well. But when you look at her, you're like, wow, like there's something, she's so beautiful. And that's what everyone says. They're like, she's such a beautiful. I remember when my friend Marianne first met her, she said, who is this beautiful old woman? You know? And it's the practice. If we're practicing, you know, if we're going around trying to hide and not be seen and ashamed of ourselves, we'll shrivel up. We'll lose the life inside of us. You lose a sense of being. Yeah. And that's what yoga is really. It's being. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if some people, you know, don't want to talk to you or not interested in you or, you know, you have to cultivate that feeling of being within yourself. Because it will give you more a feeling of security and safety and happiness, contentment. Yeah. It makes sense. Yeah. So when you go out into nature and you're looking at something that, you know, you're looking at I was sitting under a tree today. I went out and it's the thing that, you know, taking the time and even, you know, usually I like to leave the phone at home, you know, because this is very much an instrument of the mind. Yeah. It's an instrument of the mind. But today I was trying to call somebody actually just before. And so I had my phone, there was a timer on the phone. So it's like, okay, I'm going to time myself for 20 minutes. Maybe if you had a watch or something, you can do the same thing. But 20 minutes is a really good time because it's the nervous system starts to downregulate after 20 minutes. Yeah. So you're looking at something and seeing the color I was looking at the color of the grass because it changes. Right, it changes over the summer and we have this lovely, you know, the color of the leaves on the trees and the grass. It's so fresh and vibrant and it will literally begin to change every single day. Like everything is maturing now. But can you see that and then also come back to the feeling within your body? Right? So you're looking at it, it cultivates a sense of happiness. Can you come back and sense and feel the sensation of happiness in the body? And gratitude, yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's just look at the sense organs then, right? So we're looking at the grass and then we feel the sensation of pleasure, of gratitude within us, right? And then, it's a different color. Okay, so what else? Ear, okay. So then you're listening, yeah? And like Anne said, when I was under the tree, the sounds of the birds was very, very present. Yeah. And apparently scientists have said that when we hear the sounds of the birds, it instantly starts to downregulate the nervous system. It starts to calm us. Because birds only sing in a place where they feel safe. Yeah.
Which is why I can see the tree.
Mhm.
You can hear the sea as well.
The sea, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh,
Be there alone,
uh-huh.
and it's a little bay with high cliffs. And it's called the murder hole because if you're up at the top of the grassy cliff, and the story is that in days gone by, when the tribes were fighting each other, they would chase the people across this loads of low fields up onto this top field and keep chasing them and chasing them. And there's a rift that must be the height of a building, a cleft in the land, and they would all fall over and drop down. And
Okay.
it's called the murder hole. And if you walk into it on the sand, you can hear the echoing of the sea as the waves
Yeah,
come in over a wee island, and
uh-huh,
it's the sound of the sea.
yeah.
It's as good as the colours.
Mhm.
It's,
Okay, so deeply listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just hearing as you describe that scene, you know, how when you're going for a walk, like on the beach or something like that, that you walk a few steps, notice how the sound changes from part to part. Yeah. But it requires, all of this work requires for you to have a certain, to practice softening to receive the sense. Yeah. So when you go at first, you know, sometimes you can be like, oh, I have this to do, and I have this to do, and I have this to do, and this to do. You're, you know, your fritties go mental, as Mary said. So it's good to stop in nature. And what you might find is, what I found today is that when I get still, because our nervous systems are like this, living in the modern world, you know, we're like, you know, but and it can take a while, you know, you're trying to get still and you're like, internally. But slowly, you know, nature really just calms us down. But if you become conscious of it, okay, I watch my body, okay, I can see it's a little bit, my mind's still a bit, but you're inviting it to calm down. And what happens is that as the thoughts, you know, that you're having about what I have to do or whatever it is, start to settle, the sound of the birds or the sound of the waves gets louder. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're allowing, and you can practice that when you go out as well, that notice, oh, okay, my thoughts are still buzzing around here. And it's not like you're trying to get rid of the thoughts. You just go, oh yeah, there's thoughts, there's thinking. Where's the
Whereby you could be in a bar
yeah,
and it was maybe quiet when you went
Uh-huh.
into it.
uh-huh,
And then the more people come in, the louder it gets.
uh-huh.
And you seem to feel that it's getting louder and louder and louder and louder.
Mhm.
Because, well, I would anyway, because I would be anxious. I can't,
Mhm.
I can't take all that noise in
Yeah, but you
of
see,
people.
that's the thing though, in our modern culture, we're very much exposed to a lot of
Noise.
noise, and it's not good for our nervous system. It's really not like the fact that we have planes flying over the city every 5 seconds. We kind of have to shut ourselves down
Yeah.
in a way to deal with this.
Well,
So,
then I have to say, if I'm sitting out in my garden, like I'm right in the pathway of the,
mm,
and I think they're getting lower. When I'm out in the garden and a plane goes over, it doesn't annoy me as much as when I'm in the house,
yeah,
because
Mhm.
the garden's my safe place.
yeah, because you feel more held by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want to start a campaign against closing that city airport, I'm being right with you, you know. So yes. Yeah, Rita was just saying that you know, it was class during COVID that those weren't her words. Um that, you know, everything became much more still and quiet. Yeah. The traffic even on the road. Mm. Yeah. So let's just take those two senses for now, right? Because we need to do some practice. I don't have the big clock on today, so that's why I'm squinting looking at that. But does that make sense? Can you really practice taking 20 minutes of your life, of your day, and really so not just going for a walk and oh yeah, I'll look at the clouds or whatever, but go a little bit deeper. Go a little bit deeper. Get still. Take it 20 minutes to get really still, whether it's standing up against a tree, yeah, or sitting in your garden, yeah. Going deeper into the garden, put your feet on the ground, yeah. And listen more deeply. Yeah, take 20 minutes to let everything settle so you can expand what you're hearing. Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about the other senses next week. Is that okay? Okay. 23. Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, so we can stand up. You ready? I need to put on the big clock. Where are you, big clock? There we go. Okay, and I would like for us to walk again today. And last week we walked in a circle. So see Mary's just going into Wonder Woman there. So we can move a little bit and do a little bit of Wonder Woman. And that's the other thing, to be inspired by nature, right? It's where all the yoga poses in the yoga tradition come from animals, right? So, but we can also be inspired by each other. So Mary was doing the Wonder Woman, and like, okay, I want to do Wonder Woman too. Yeah. But feel it and sense it in your body. Bring your attention in to sensing and feeling. And then you might be inspired to take another movement. Okay, and I see Nikki is doing the reaching the arms up and pointing the index fingers and circling. in one direction and then in the other direction. And if there's anything else then that you would love to do, I see Anne was doing this one. And just notice, can you locate in your body the sensations, the feelings? And you can sigh out, ah. Oh. Shake it off, or Leonie likes to tap. Leonie's kind of having a boogie with the shoulder. Eileen. Ah. Okay. Now begin to feel through your feet. Decide what you would like to do with your hands for the walking meditation. Relax your shoulders and begin to sense and feel now leg bones resting down. And we're going to walk not in a circle today. So if you can line up opposite each other. Yeah. So one person, sorry, not completely opposite, staggered is what I mean. Staggered, yeah. So that when Anne walks down here, you're not going to bump into each other. So. Okay, so you're not going to hit the person. Right? So if you're at home, you're just going to walk up and down. And of course, Leonie, you take a rest whenever you need to. So take a moment now standing to sense and feel your feet. And we can use the image of the tree or the flower that sends its roots down. The leg bones can be like roots, softly resting towards the earth. And then get a sense of the spine. The tailbone can be dropping like a root towards the earth. And then if you can imagine deep in your belly where the front of your spine is and begin to lengthen up the front of the spine. Get a sense of your head. Maybe take the nose back so that the head rests on top of the spine. And can you feel that now, the rooting and the rising? The lightness in the spine rising up. And the relaxedness of the legs resting down. And then open your eyes and just look middle distance. And as you're looking middle distance, feeling your feet and feeling your breath. And then you can just begin to walk. You take a step and you feel it, and you feel your leg bone resting down. And you can walk whatever pace you like today. And you feel the rebound up the spine. You take a step, the leg bones rest down into the footprint. And the spine rises up. Rest down, rise up. Resting down, rising up. Notice how it feels when somebody passes you. And you feel that inside your body. How does your body respond on a subtle level when somebody passes you? Or if you're at home, how does it feel when you pass a certain piece of furniture? You're noticing the rhythm of your breath, the rhythm of your walking, your pace. Can you be conscious through the turn? So when you meet the end of the room where you can't go any further, can you be really conscious of how you turn? And you're also conscious of, well, how does it feel when I take the weight through my right leg? How does it feel when I take the weight through my left leg? Do I have a habit in how I walk? Am I being my mother or my father when I walk? Can I make a stand and take up space? Try walking a little bit faster, noticing your breath and your movement. Can you still be as conscious as when you were walking slow? Can you still feel the rooting down and the rising up? Go a little bit faster. And of course, if you can't, because you have had a hip replacement, that's fine. Or for whatever reason, you still be conscious and feel how the energy within you changes. It's like you're walking down the street. You maintain the same level of awareness. And you still really inhabit your body. Now, when I ring the bell, can you pause? And just feel your body, feel your breath. And when I ring the bell again, you're going to go at a fast pace, just at the pace you were just doing, and go and set yourself up with total consciousness. You're aware of what you're picking up and how you're putting it down, the sound you're making when you put it down. So go and get set up for lying down. If you don't want to lie down, if you want to sit, set yourself up for sitting. You're making adjustments. When you adjust, when you pick up a chair or you put down the blocks, you're making a choice. You're choosing to lie down and choosing to sit down, choosing to put a cushion under my knees. Blocks under my feet. And now we're getting still. So we sense and feel and notice the body getting still. You might notice the sound of the traffic outside. Or whatever sounds are in our environment. And then begin to feel through the back body. How it's making contact with the ground. How is my back body making contact with the ground? And if you're sitting, how is my back body making contact with the chair? And then bringing your attention, your full attention to the skin on the forehead. And let your attention really bathe the skin on the forehead. And then invite the skin on the forehead to relax. And you bring your attention now to the front brain. And let your attention really expand the sense and feel the front brain. And then invite front brain to relax and soften. Bring your attention to your eyes and let your attention really expand to feel your eyes completely. And then inviting the eyes to soften and relax. Bring your attention fully to the jaw and the teeth. Allow your attention to expand to fully feel the jaw and the teeth. And relax jaw, teeth. Bring your attention to fully feel whole face. And relax the whole face. Bring your attention to the lips and soften, relax the lips. Bring your attention to the inside of the mouth. Soften, relax inside of mouth. Bring your attention to your tongue. And relax tongue. Invite the tongue to soften in the lower palate. Bring your attention to your throat. To your vocal cord. And relax, soften throat. Relax vocal cords. And invite that sense of relaxation to move out from the throat, through the tissues of the neck, through the bones of the neck, to the skin. And allow your attention to move down into your shoulders. And allow your attention to fully expand in your shoulders. And soften, relax shoulders. Bring your attention to the front of the chest, the collarbones. And relax, soften, front of chest. Bring your attention to the arms. Fully relax upper arms. Bring your attention to feel the elbows and the forearms. And fully relax elbows, forearms. Allow your attention to expand into the hands, fingers, thumb. And relax. Hands, fingers, and thumbs. Begin to feel into the back body, the flesh on the back body, the spine. Relax and soften the flesh on the back body. Relax your spine. And relax the heart, the lungs, into back body. You get a sense of the double dome of your diaphragm. And travel underneath the right dome. And begin to relax into this space where the liver, the right kidney, gallbladder, relax the pancreas underneath, and then go under the left dome and relax your left kidney, stomach, and spleen. And now begin to travel down through your guts, softening and relaxing. Through the gut. And travel all the way down into the pelvic bowl. And begin to soften and relax the contents of the bowl. And let that sense of relaxation move out. Relax your belly. Soften the belly. Bring your attention to the low back and the bottom. Relax low back. Relax bottom. Bring your attention to your hips. Relax your hips. And bring your attention to the pelvic floor. Relax, soften from the inside of the pelvic floor to the outer genitals, perineum, anus. And sensing and feeling into your thighs. Soften, relax the weight of your thighs. Bring your attention fully into your knee. And soften, relax the knees. Bring your attention fully into the lower legs. And soften, relax lower legs. Bring your attention fully into the feet. And relax, soften feet. And each one of your toes. And get a sense of your whole body, all the bones of your body. And relax your bones. Relax the whole body. Sense and feel your whole body breathing. Can you feel the sound of the bell in the tissues of your body? And if you're lying down, you can begin to wiggle the fingers and the toes. If you're sitting, you can slowly open your eyes and begin to move. And those of you lying, draw the knees in and take a rock and roll. And come onto one side. And then come on up to sit. And when you're sitting, just take a moment to take out one hand and look now at the colors the light and the shade. Turn over the hand. Looking with curiosity at the hand. At the miracle of the hand. And then close your eyes for a moment and reimagine the hand. Open again, look again. And look at your hand and smile. Cultivating a sense of gratitude for the hand. Even thanking the hand. And that sense of gratitude, that smile, just take a moment to let it spread into the tissues of your body. And breathe it in and out. Stop recording.